Hi, welcome to She Spice. Entertainer Julia Roberts has made some waves again, reigniting her well-established quarrel with Steven Spielberg. The beautiful lady star has purportedly made a few astonishing cases that could mean something bad for her old opponent. You all could recall that back in January, a court in Manhattan delivered a rundown of individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Recently delivered court reports connecting with the Jeffrey Epstein. They incorporate partners, companions, and claimed casualties of the shape. That extremely rich person who kicked the bucket in prison quite a while back. During that time, reports were flying that Steven Spielberg was on the rundown, alongside a few other prominent people. The web was divided. A few fans couldn't really accept that Spielberg would engage in Epstein embarrassments, while others contended he wasn't above it. The discussion seethed on for quite a long time, yet at last subsided. That is, up to this point, when Julia Roberts purportedly chose to hop once again into the discussion. She uncovered what many fans had been thinking from the start. And kid, it was incredibly surprising. So, what did Julia Roberts say about Steven Spielberg, and how can it tie into their long-standing fight? We have every one of the succulent subtleties here, so we should make a plunge. If I find out that you know him and his life, and you know Amy Irving and what have you, then I likely expressed about my own life. Julia Roberts and Steven Spielberg are the exemplification of not agreeing. These two have been at one another's throat since shooting the hit film. Attached is the last part of the ADS. Spielberg harshly grumbled about Roberts' demeanor during recording, asserting she was frequently amateurish and experienced issues following headings at the time. Roberts was heading through an intense period because of her tempestuous relationship with her co-star Kiefer Sutherland. The two stars, who met on a past set, were locked and furthermore set to be hitched a day in the wake of shooting for Snare finished. Anyway, things took a turn for the when Roberts got Kiefer cheating and severed the commitment. It wasn't what she needed to do eventually. And I think it took a great deal of fortitude, and among that other stuff, to be all ready to say, I can't do this. Spielberg saw that Roberts' turbulent relationship with Kiefer was influencing her mentality towards work, and he referenced it in an interview with an hour. It was anything but an extraordinary time for Julia and I to be cooperating. The popularity chief conceded Roberts was wounded by Spielberg's words, since she had trusted in him while on set and had made an honest effort to be proficient in a meeting with Vanity Fair. Roberts bludgeoned Spielberg for declining to guard her against claims that she was hard to work with. She made sense of that. Spielberg's remarks truly put her in a bad mood and, surprisingly, called him a turncoat. I saw that, and my eyes jumped somewhere far away from me. I could hardly imagine how this individual that I knew and trusted was really wondering whether or not to come to my protection. She additionally conceded a meeting where she guaranteed that Spielberg had an obscure and problematic memory of what really unfolded on the film set in the last part of the 1980 says. Sten Spielberg, I see as very confounded in his memory of me, given the fiery connection between these two Hollywood monsters. It was inevitable before Roberts got some information about Steven Spielberg's name on the implied Epstein list. We as a whole realize columnists are continuously searching for grain for their news channels and will not hesitate to drain what is happening, or for this situation, a relationship, for their benefit. So when Spielberg's name came up, they rushed to Roberts for a short clip, and she apparently didn't frustrate. Evidently, she indicated that Spielberg held onto dim and upsetting interests that were creepier than whatever we normally find in his motion pictures. I'm not in any event going to discuss Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is, as of late, reports from the recording of Indiana Jones have re-emerged, and the subtleties are disturbing. They show Steven Spielberg in a pre-creation meeting with his companion George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan examining the production of the person Indiana Jones, and it shows up there's a frightening side to it. The conversation subtleties are how an 11-year-old female person met with and went gaga for the main protagonist, Indiana Jones. George Lucas says, I was feeling that this old person might have been his tutor. He might have known this young lady when she was only a youngster and had taken part in extramarital entanglements with her when she was 11. Then someone else answered, and he was 42. Lucas proceeds with, hasn't seen her in 12 years. Currently she's 22. It's a genuinely weird relationship. Then Spielberg joins the talk and offers something extremely dreadful. She would be wise to be more seasoned than 22. Lucas answers he's 35 and he knew her 10 years prior when he was 25, and she was just 12. It would be entertaining to make her somewhat youthful at the time. The three men went this way and that over the matter, with one recommending that the young lady ought to rather be the one giving herself wholeheartedly to Jones than the reverse way around. They even considered knocking up the age to close to 15 years, yet not farther than that, or the story could lose its edge. They make sense of XP that 15 was the best age to fix the young lady, and that when she last met Indiana Jones, she came on firmly to him, and the two drew in their lewd longings. A great deal of fans were completely sickened when they learned about how wrecked Spielberg and his group were during the beginning of Indiana Jones. Like, truly, who thought it was cool to make a little kid connect with a more seasoned person just to make the film edgier? However, hello Hollywood ideal spot, where all the obscure stuff happens, where top dogs up Elise youthful energetic gifts to fulfill their dreadful desires. It's wrecked. When fans learned about this hair-raising subtlety from Indiana Jones, their response was something like this: 15-year-old in a relationship with a 27-year-old. A few fans trust it's simply craftsmanship and separate from these folks' genuine lives, which may be valid. However, motion pictures frequently reflect society, right? So perhaps Spielberg and others were into some abnormal stuff that wound up in their movies. If you believe Spielberg's thing with youthful characters and more established ones was a one-time thing, reconsider. There's discussion that during Jurassic Park he was comfortable with Arana Richards. Obviously, he sent her parental figure away so they could be distant from everyone else together in her lodging, apparently to go over lines. The source asserts that Spielberg then put her in a few predicaments that truly wrecked her head. Unfortunately, that first night was only the start of a few truly bizarre evenings, with Spielberg supposedly exploiting unfortunate Richards. The source says she's been getting help for years and won't discuss the film or give meets clearly. She's finished with Hollywood and believes that nothing should do with Spielberg recognitions after Jurassic Park. She did not many more motion pictures, however, at that point left Hollywood for good. Presently, she's a painter finding comfort and communicating her thoughts through workmanship. Perhaps that has been her help in treatment. I get truly roused to paint likeness. I would agree is my extreme. The most loved thing. Ariana passed on acting to get away from the long stretches of abuse, purportedly by industry guardians who ought to have known better. One such figure was clean chief Roman Polanski, who strangely is a mate of Spielberg. Not to rush to make judgment calls, but rather they express. Similar people are attracted to one another, right? Polanski, like Spielberg, has a painful history with allegations of improper ways of behaving towards young ladies. On Spring 10, 1977, Roman Polanski, then 43 years of age, was captured and accused in Los Angeles of various offenses, including Samantha Gay, now grandmother, who was 13 years of age at the time. The charges included unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor, assault by utilization of corruption, homosexuality, lecherous and obscene, following up on a kid under 14, and outfitting a controlled substance to a minor, at first arguing not blameworthy to all charges. Polanski later acknowledged a request bargain that prompted the excusal of the more major allegations in return for a blameworthy request to participate in unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor, definitely when he needed to cause problems like standing by. This isn't what he should do. Subsequent to going through a court-requested mental assessment and being put waiting on the post-trial process, Roman Polanski escaped from equity in February 1978. He left the U.S. for Britain and, in this way, France only hours before his planned condemnation. Polanski has since dwelled principally in France and has tried not to make a trip to nations where he could confront removal to the U.S. on April 10, 1977. Roman Polanski had to deal with 6 penalties connected with a 13-year-old Samantha Jane Gay, now Samantha Geimer. The charges included unlawful sexual intercourse with a female under 18 by utilization of corruption, homosexuality, lecherous and indecent follows-up on a youngster under 14, and outfitting a controlled substance to a minor. At last, Polanski argued liable to a lesser accusation of unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor as indicated by Geimer's declaration to the excellent jury. Polanski had inquired as to whether he would be able to photo the young lady as a component of his work for the French version of Vogue, which Polanski had been welcome to visit. Alter her mom permitted a confidential photograph shoot. Geimer affirmed that she felt awkward during the main meeting in which she presented topless at Pansy's solicitation and at first didn't wish to participate in a moment, but in any case consented to another shoot. This occurred at the home of entertainer Jack Nicholson in the Mulholland area of Los Angeles when the wrongdoing was perpetrated. Nicholson was on a ski trip in Colorado, and his live-in sweetheart Angelica. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.